Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically, this will be the goal of this chapter, no, to define functions of statistics, descriptive versus inferential statistics, population and sample, variables, and sampling. By the way, can anyone give me a definition of statistics? What's an idea of what statistic is? Anyone from the class? Anyone? Can anyone give me a definition? Or kahit your personal definition of what statistic is from your previous knowledge of statistics.
Ako, sir.
Who's speaking? He, Maurilio.
So,
Sige daw.
statistic is the sir. Statistic is
Sige.
the discipline that concerns the collection, organization, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of data.
Okay.
In
So
applying
parang,
statistic,
okay, sige, continue.
in applying statistic to scientific, industrial, or social problem, it is conventional to begin with a statistical population or a statistical model to be studied.
Okay, so anong first, what are the first words that you just mentioned kanina? Statistic is
A discipline that concerns the collection,
a
organization,
discipline
analysis.
that concerns the collection, organization, analysis, interpretation of data. Okay, so basically, what Mr. Morillo is trying to say is that statistics is a whole process. Okay, it includes yun nga, the collection, interpretation of data. Okay, for us to come up with an idea or with an information based on the data that we have gathered or collected. And then there's also another definition of statistics being used as yung statistic lang, okay? Kasi there are types. This is a type of data concerning sample. Now, when you define a data from a sample, that data is what you call a statistic. Okay? And then when you define a data from a population, that is now what you call a parameter. Okay? So, meron tayong statistics na yung definition talaga ng statistics, yung branch of mathematics na statistics. And then, you also have a statistic na type of data that was uh, gathered and then being described. Okay? So that is statistic, that is a data based from a sample. Okay. So raw data, what is a raw data? So raw data are data which are not yet sorted or arranged according to some criteria or some systematic considerations, and data that are collected in original form. So if data have not been processed, it was not yet sorted and arranged, then that is what we call a raw data. Okay, processing. So statistic plays a vital role in every field of human activity. In our daily activities, we encounter a lot of sorting and organizing objects, data, or things like just what you did. So these are just a few of the activities involved in the study of statistics. So um, if you collect no data and then you try to sort out the data, you try to omit uh, data that are not needed, you try to organize them according to some variables, then that is now a processing of data. Okay, wait lang ha. So ayan nga. What is statistics? According to Mr. Murillo kanina, no, ayun, it is a parang a process, no? A process of collecting, organizing, for us to come up with an idea based on the data that we have collected. And then statistics can also refer to a numerical measure derived from a sample, just like what I've said earlier. And then statistic as a body of knowledge is the study of rules, techniques, or method used to collect, present, analyze, and interpret set of numerical data. Okay, so we have two areas of concerns of statistics. We have what we call the descriptive statistics and then the inferential statistics. What's the difference between the two? For descriptive statistics, it is a statistical method concerned with collecting and describing a set of data as to yield meaningful information, while inferential statistic is a statistical method concerned with the analysis of a subset of data leading to predictions or inferences about the entire set. Now, descriptive, we are just describing what we have collected. For instance, we collect data, we sort those data, we process those data, and we come up with um, a something describing, of course, that data that we have collected. And that is descriptive statistics. Now, when we say inferential, ganun pa din, magpa-process tayo ng data, but then, after we describe that data alone, we will infer or make an inference about the whole population based on the data that we have gathered. We are now making conclusions from the data that we have collected. Like say for instance, a good example na lang of inferential statistics, no? Say for instance, mga lalaki, yan babae, ang mag-uyab, ang may nahimo na mali. Tapos ang babae masiring. Kamo nga mga lalaki, amo talaga kamo itong mga lalaki. Mga lurong talaga kamo nga mga lalaki. Diba? Based han iya experience, nagindurong hiyan usa ka lalaki, nag-infer hiya na kamo nga tanan nga mga lalaki amo iton. Diba? So that is now inferential statistics. Making inference about the data that may ada hiya, that he has. Okay? So that is inferential statistics. Okay. Sige, um, let's try to read this example number 1. Let's try to identify if what statistics is being shown. Sige, who would like to read this aloud? Let's have, is Miss Referzo here? Are you around?
Yes po.
Can you read the example 1?
A survey is conducted in order to know the preferred bath soap brand of households in the Philippines. 20% of the total number of households in each region were randomly chosen as respondents of the survey. It was found that 85% of all households in the Philippines preferred brand A.
Okay. Now, what do you think is the statistics being shown in this problem, in this particular example? Is this inferential or descriptive statistics? Anyone from the class? Sige daw.
Descriptive, sir.
According to, what's that? Maricante and Ripalda, descriptive. Why did you say so?
Describe man lang, sir, kung ano, findings na yahan survey.
Can describe and findings and survey. Okay, so that's according to Miss Baricante. Now, do we have any opposing side? Anyone from the class? May opposing side ba? Hello? Wala na? Okay, so do you all agree about the idea of Miss Baricante? Class? Do you agree that example 1 is an example of a descriptive statistic? So a survey,
Yes, sir.
let's read this again. Now, a survey is conducted in order to know the preferred bath soap brand of households in the Philippines. 20% of the total number of households in each region were randomly chosen as respondents of the survey. It was found out that 85% of all households in the Philippines preferred brand A. Okay, now, what was the tawag ini, where did they gather this data? How did they gather the data here? How are they able to find out
Random
that?
sampling, sir.
Okay,
Survey
no, no,
random.
they conducted a survey. No, and then ang nag-conduct hirahin survey, 20% of the total number of household in each region. 'Di ba? So 20% of the household in each region was randomly chosen as respondents. And then, according to the last sentence, if you can read here, it was found out that 85% of all households in the Philippines preferred brand A. Now, the an ira lagin study in gin conduct na study here, an era respondent la is 20% of the total number of household in each region. No? And then pag last sentence, nag-infer here they concluded that 85% of all the household. Okay, nagigets niyo from 20% uh, na 20% of the total number households in its region nga data, last sentence naman nagamit hirahin ni all households in the Philippines. Okay? So that is why example number 1 is inferential statistics. Okay? Kaya from the 20% of the total number of households in each region, the data that they have gathered, they concluded that 85% of all households in the Philippines preferred brand A. So this is in fact an inferential statistics. Gets?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
how would we improve this statement if we want this to be a descriptive statistic? Sige daw. Anyone from the class? If you want this example to be a descriptive statistic, what would you say?
Tatanggalin na sir, and it was found that 85% blah 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 sa ganito.
What ka daw to conclusion about your study?
And all households, sir, i-change into participants.
Pwede. Yes. Kasi the participants lang ano yung magde-describe. No, you are not gonna be making inferences or you're not gonna generalize, diba? So, it was found out that 85% of the participants preferred brand A. So, correct. Okay? So, you get the idea na, no, of descriptive and inferential statistic. Okay, let's have this example number 2. Let's have Mr. Yepes, can you read example 2?
Sir. There are 20 major suppliers of dragon fruits across Region 8. They were surveyed and data on the amount of their monthly dragon fruit supply for the past 10 years were gathered from each supplier. The following part of the result of the survey: A. The average monthly supply of the 20 major suppliers for the past 10 years is 6.5 tons. B. The top one suppliers is supplier A, whose average monthly supply for the past 10 years is 1.2 tons. C. There will be an increase of dragon fruit supply by the major suppliers in the coming years.
Okay. So which do you think is the which of the following results show the use of descriptive statistic? Is it A, B, or C? And which also shows the inferential? Okay, let's try to identify if asan dito yung inferential and asan yung statistics from A, B, and C.
Ano, sir?
Letter C,
Okay,
inferential.
letter C is inferential according to Mr. Yepes. So there will be an increase of dragon fruit supply by, sige, ano muna tayo? Letter A muna tayo. The average monthly supply of the 20 major suppliers for the past 10 years is 6.5 tons. Is it inferential or descriptive statistic for letter A? The average monthly supply of the 20 major suppliers for the past 10 years is 6.5 tons.
Descriptive. Okay, what I
Descriptive or inferential? So according to Mr. Yepes, descriptive. Why Mr. Yepes?
But what I mag-conclude, sir?
Warahiya conclusion. Okay,
Yes.
so that's actually correct. No, bale, letter A is just describing the average monthly supply of the 20 major suppliers for the past 10 years. Kasi that was also the data collected. No, if we read the above text, there are 20 major suppliers of dragon fruit across Region 8. They were surveyed and data on the amount of their monthly dragon fruit supply for the past 10 years. Okay, so that is why letter A is just a descriptive statistics. How about letter B? The top one supplier is supplier A, whose average monthly supply for the past 10 years is 1.5 tons. Is it descriptive or inferential statistics?
Descriptive to what, sir?
Descriptive, sir.
Yes, it's also descriptive yung letter B. And then of course, according to what Mr. Yepes said earlier, there will be an increase of dragon fruit supply by the major suppliers in the coming years is now an example of an inferential statistics. Okay? Because, ano na niya, parang you are now trying to guess. Diba? You're now making a conclusion that there will be an increase. So according from the data that you have gathered and then that you have processed, you're now trying to say that there will be an increase. You're now trying to conclude. No? So that means letter C is now an inferential statistics. Gets? G?
G
Yes,
po.
sir. Yes.
Okay. I think, mali nga sa ba or okay la?
Okay man la, sir.
Okay la?
Wala, sir.
Wala, sir.
Nagtaka rin nga sa kasi didi pero I think the headset is working fine. Okay. Basta na tayo.
Sinakita, sir, si.
Tapos nakitaan si. Okay. Let's have variable. Okay, so variable is a characteristic or information of interest that is observable or measurable from every individual or object under consideration. So variable, it comes from the word vary. Now this is where our respondents varies. This is usually the variable. This is usually the data that we are trying to collect. No. So ano yung mga variables that we're going to use, and then from that, i-collect natin yung data. Example of a variable, we have sex, we have age. Diba? That is an example of a variable. That is where your data varies. Okay. We have types of variables here. Okay, so we have what we call qualitative or categorical variable. So that is a variable that can be placed into distinct categories. So according to some characteristics or attributes. For example, hair color, NBA teams, gender, and course. And then we also have what we call the quantitative or numerical variable. This is a variable that are numerical and can be ordered or ranked. Example, we have height of a student, weight of babies, etc. So qualitative, so quality, no? And then quantitative naman, usually that's a number, naka-quantify siya. Okay? So we have types of quantitative variables. So we have what we call the discrete, variable, and continuous. When we say discrete, it assumes only a finite countable number of values. For instance, the number of meals in a day, and then the number of units enrolled and shoe size. For continuous naman, it assumes infinitely many values corresponding to the point on a line interval. Example, we have age, travel time from home to school. Okay. We also have the levels of measurement of variables. Okay, so I think I don't know if some of you have already known this. So we have what we call the nominal measurement. So nominal is a variable whose values are simply labels or names or categories without any implicit or explicit ordering of the labels. So lowest level of measurement. This is the lowest level of measurement of our variables. So nominal. Example of a nominal data is gender, ID number, and etc. No, wala siyang order because we cannot say that males are greater than females, di ba? We cannot say that. And yung ID number, hindi ibig sabihin na mas malaki yung ID number ng classmate mo, mas magaling siya sa'yo. Diba? So that is why in nominal data, those, kahit may numbers dyan, it doesn't mean something. No, hindi ibig sabihin na nararank mo yung number according to higher the number, the better. Okay, who can give another example of a nominal data aside from gender and ID number? Anyone from the class? Who can give an example? Serial number? Serial number ito, ano?
Nationality.
Nationality is correct, okay. What else? Serial number depend. Oh,
Names
yeah,
of
serial numbers
people.
are, of course. Pero di naman natin usually natin ginagamit yung variable at names of people, di ba? Kaya as much as possible nga in a research and a study, di ba may nanganihiton. I don't know if you have been a respondent in a study. Di ba may naman ito bagan confidentiality. Yeah, optional it name. Okay? So di rin natin ito higing gagamit usually. Okay, another example. Who can give me an example
Blood
of
type.
a blood type? Yeah, nominal yan. Kasi we cannot say that type AB is better than type A.
Yes, sir.
Or, okay. Who can give me an example of a numerical
Like
data?
number, sir.
Numerical pero nominal. So, actually, ginyakan pala ni Mr. Maurilio, no? A plate number, di rin ibig sabihin nga mas dako it equivalent it imo plate number that it's faster, di ba? So those numbers are merely representations, identity of your vehicle. Okay, so nagigets naman na yung nominal. Okay, we have what we call the ordinal scale. Okay, so ordinal, these are variables whose values are labels or classes with an implied ordering in these labels. ranking can be done on this data, and the distance between two levels cannot be quantified. Yeah. So example, we have here job positions, faculty, rank, etc. Okay? So dito, may order na. Diba? Like say for instance, job position. Sa job position, we can say that instructor 3 is higher than instructor 1. Diba? So that is ordinal. Who can give me another example of an ordinal scale, a variable, aside from
Year
what's
level,
given
sir.
here? Year level, yes. Year level. We can say that the fourth years have been around longer in this institution than the first year, of course. What else?
Income
Supervisor.
level.
Huh?
Supervisor.
Supervisor. That's a job position na, diba? Any other example of an ordinal scale?
Police
Official.
officer.
Huh?
Age, sir.
Age? Actually, no. Age is not in an ordinal level.
Mga pulis, sir. Amo ba?
Mga police, dire, mga rank
Dire.
positions, parang ari naman ito.
Ayan.
Position, job position, yeah, it's already here. How about, kuan?
Barangay officials.
Yeah, pwede. Okay, so anyways, you get the idea of the ordinal scale level. Okay, basta there is now rank. Okay, but then note that the distances between two levels cannot be quantified. Okay, like say for instance, may nakita instructor 2 and instructor 1, no? Ang ibig sabihin nini nga distance between two levels cannot be quantified. For instance, in case an instructor 2 and instructor 1, we cannot say that instructor 2 is twice better than instructor 1. Diba? We cannot quantify them.
Civil status, sir.
Civil status? Civil status is nominal. Diba? We cannot say that, we cannot rank them from accordingly single, ano man it, rank 1 single, rank 2 married, rank 3 widowed. Dire, we cannot rank them, diba? So pag waray rank, ma-fall hiya ha, nominal scale. Okay. Then we have what we call the interval scale. So interval naman, these are variables whose values can be ordered and in addition may be added or subtracted but not divided nor multiplied. These are the distances between any 2 points are known, a known size, the unit of measurement is constant or arbitrary, and the 0 point is arbitrary or not specified. Example, we have the temperature and test scores. Okay. Sige. For the interval, what you have to remember here is that there is no true zero value. Okay? For instance, itong temperature, anong ibig sabihin ng there's no true zero value? For the temperature, when you say there is 0 degrees Celsius, it doesn't necessarily mean that walang temperature. Diba? May temperature pa din, but it is cold. No? Hindi ibig sabihin na pag 0 degrees Celsius, wala talagang temperature. Like say for instance, what is the length of this, sinabing the length of that is 0 centimeter. May ano ba yan? May ano ba yan? Interval ba yan? Pag 0 centimeter? No, di ba? Kasi pag sinabi nating 0 centimeter, wala talaga. Di ba? So, pag sinabi naman nating 0 degrees Celsius, hindi ibig sabihin na walang temperature, but may temperature but it's still cold. It's just cold. Diba? So that is interval. And then, for the last level of measurement, we have what we call the ratio scale. Okay, so ratio scale, this is a variable, whose values have all the properties of interval scale, and in addition, it can be multiplied and divided. It has a true 0 point. It is the highest level of measurement. So, nominal yung lowest level of measurement, ratio is the highest level of measurement. For instance, we have here length, height, weight, etc. Now, pag sinabi nating ayun na nga, sabi ko kanina, if yung weight niya is 0 kilograms, that means we're weighing nothing, di ba? So, wala talaga yon. So, it has a true 0 point. Okay? Any questions so far for about the levels of measurement that we have discussed? Levels of measurements of variables from nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Hello? Am I still audible?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Masa na tayo? Okay. Sampling na tayo. Sige, let's first define what is a sample. Okay? Ano ba yung sample? Anyone from the class? What is sample in statistics? What is sample? What is a sample? Example? Sige daw. Anyone from the class who can tell me what is a sample in statistics?
A portion of a whole.
A portion of a whole? Yes, may idea na. Okay. Amo la ba? A portion of a whole? Bagan ko na latiya. Fraction. A fraction is also a portion of a whole, di ba? Okay, so in statistics, we also have what we call the population, di ba? If you're conducting a study, one of the things that you consider is the population, or the things that where or the where your study would be conducted, where your data would be gathered. That is the population. Okay, like say for instance, you want to know the average, the general weighted average of an ACLC student. Now, that means if your study is just, if that's your title, no, you want to know the average grade of an ACLC student, then your population would be the entire ACLC college, diba? The students of the entire ACLC college. Now, sample would be just a part of all, a part lang of your population, no? Meaning, you would just get a portion of the entire population for your sampling, to be your sample. Okay, now why do we do that? Why do you think do we just take a sample instead of using the entire population? Why do you think so? Why do we use sample instead of using the entire population? What do you think is the reason? Makore it?
Makorea pag sir, pag test masyado ng dakunduran population in a particular city.
Makore ba pag-test? Ang pag-test ba ang makore?
Pag-gather certain data.
ang pag-gather.
Gathering data.
No? So actually, if di naman actually it's not that hard na to process the data ko na ada na hiya. No? Ang problem is gathering eh. No? If you're gathering data, so ganito ka na data, no? Kung dako man. Pero I think yeah, dako na talaga it, like say for instance, mo population is ACLC. It's gonna be time consuming, no, it's gonna be expensive, especially questionnaires. If you're using paper, survey questionnaires, kasi syempre you'll be printing those. So ibig sabihin, mas damo na respondents, mas expensive, mas time consuming, no? So that is why na-introduce ang sampling, no, to reduce the cost, the time. Okay? And then based from that sample, ayun na, based from the sample, you're gonna make the inference. That is why in research may ada kamo tinatawag na hypothesis. Diba? That is to test if there is a relationship between the sample and then the entire population. If it's safe to conclude from the sample and if it would reflect the entire population. Okay? So, ganyan yung nangyayari sa research. Actually, no, I was about to, I don't know, kitaan ko pa if kaya ba to require you no to make a research, a study at the end of this course. Or kahit, sino na ba yung nag-quantitative methods dito? Meron na ba? Most of you? Or some lang? Do we have here students na nag-take na ng quantitative methods? Hello? Nabatian pa ako? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Nabati
sir.
kami.
Okay. So, waray pa nag-quantitative methods din eh?
Waray pa.
Waray pa? Okay.
Ay pa, sir.
Okay, sige. So, kasi data analysis, parang this is for you to know how to process data. So, bagan it's gonna be a good practice, a preparation for you guys if may mabaro ka mo paghimuhin research na para makita ko on how you process or bangin makipag-merge ako ay mga subject teachers ninyo para at kung may na ka mo research, then it aton part dito is an iyo data processing. Okay, anyways, back to sampling tayo. Okay, so again, that is why we conduct sampling, no? Mostly that is to reduce the cost and time. So this is the questions to ponder, no? So you have to identify what's your population. What is population? What is sample? What is sampling? Why we do sampling, which is why kanina gin-discuss natin. And what is the appropriate sampling size? No, from the known population, okay, how do we identify the sampling size, the sample size? Okay, and then what are the methods in selecting a sample? So that's things that we have to consider in sampling. Okay, so let's first define what a population is. Population in statistics, population consists of all the subjects that are being studied. So as just like what I've said earlier, when an aim of study is if you want to identify the average, the general average of ACLC students, then that means your population would be the entire ACLC. Okay, and then sample naman, in statistics, a sample is a groups of subjects selected from a population. Okay. So why we do sampling? Yan, here. So the primary reason of obtaining a sample is to get statistical information through a sample drawn from it so that the characteristic of our sample are reflective of that of the entire population. Because pag hindi mag-reflect yung sample ninyo to the population, then it defeats the purpose. Diba? So, kaya ano ka magsasample tapos di rin magre-reflect the entire population. So, what ay gamit? No, you're just gonna be wasting your time. So, as much as possible, that's what you want to achieve. No, for your sample to reflect the entire population. So, often it is necessary to use sample for research because it is impractical to study the whole population. So, further, a sample allows to obtain information at a greater speed, it reduces cost, greater scope, and greater accuracy. There are also kasi, there are also disadvantages when using a population. Although yes, magiging reflective God pag population. Mas ma-reflect talaga ang population because lahat nga included. But there are also disadvantages of using population. No, because there are gonna be outliers in your data which would affect your results. Okay, so determination of sample size. How do we determine the number of samples from a given population, from the known population? So there is no single formula in determining sample size. Actually, we have the Stowins formula. Madaming formula in getting the sample size. Okay, so take a small sample if the population is homogeneous. Take a large sample if the population is heterogeneous. Okay, so how small is small and how large is large. Now, yung second bullet natin dito, sabi dito, take a small sample if the population is homogeneous. Okay, now, pag kasi homogeneous yung ating population, meaning almost pare-parehas yung attributes, and then pag madami pa rin yung sample na kinuha mo, magkakaroon ka ng saturation of data. Okay? Meaning, parang useless na yung maraming respondent kasi nga, yung nagagather mo na data is paulit-ulit na lang. No, that is what we call a saturation of data. No, yung ang dami pang respondents na nakapila, kailangan i-gather yung data, pero yung nakikita mo, yung na-obtain mo na data is pare-parehas na lang. So that is why if homogeneous yung population, you just take a small sample. Okay, now if the population is heterogeneous, kung magkaiba-iba naman yung attributes ng population mo, you have to take that into account. You have to take a large sample size. Now, how small is small daw and how large is large? Yun lang, no? Wait lang ha. So, ayan. According to Allergay 1991, for descriptive research, a certain percent of population may be used. Say 5%, 10%, or 15%. If the population is heterogeneous, a large sample size may be needed. So, ano lang, pag descriptive research, okay na yung 5 to 15%. But kung heterogeneous nga, a larger size may be needed. For correlation research, at least 30 samples. For experimental or casual or comparative research, at least 15 samples per group. Pag experimental kasi, usually if parang you have to compare, hindi na kailangang marami. But according nga dito, at least 15 samples per group. Kasi pag experimental kasi there would be two groups. Yung the first group is yung you want to experiment from, and then yung second group naman is your control group. Yung control group. Kasi you have to compare man. So you have to have two groups. According to Frankel and Wallen, for descriptive research, a minimum of 100 respondents daw. So marami talaga, no? Kaya nga sabi kanina, there is no single formula in getting the sample size. Kasi depending on different sources, madami talaga yung iba-iba, na iba-ibang number, iba-ibang sample size determination. But I don't want to specify that. I just want you to get the idea. And then this is the most common sample size determination formula that's being used. The one that we call Slovin's formula. Okay, so this is the formula for Slovin's formula. N equals big N over 1 plus N times E raised to 2 or E squared. Now, what is this big N? Yung small n pala, that is the notation for sample. Okay? Big N naman, that is population. That's over 1 plus the population times E squared. What is E? Yung E is the margin of error or allowable error. Now, for you to get an idea of allowable error, okay, parang ito lang yung margin of error in layman's term. What's an idea? Sinong may idea ng margin of error in layman's term? Ito lang yung the number of mistakes that you are allowed. Okay? Like say for instance, sabihin na lang natin, sino ba yung mas magaling? Yung let passer ba or yung bar passer? And let's not use the magaling na term, no? Sabihin na lang natin, sige, for the context lang, hindi naman ibig sabihin na we're not trying to degrade some dito professions, no? So which do you think is better? Yung let passer ba or yung bar passer? Do you know by the way is the passing rate? I think passing rate siguro ng bar is 80, di ba? Am I correct?
Yes, sir. 80.
And then sa let is 75. Correct ba ako? Sa let is 75?
Yes, sir.
Sige, sabihin na natin there are two. Individual A took the bar exam. Individual B took the let exam. They both passed. Okay. Now, which do you think would they be parang better of the two? Si individual A ba or B?
B,
Sige
sir.
nga.
B.
B?
An A, sir, an A.
Si kuan ba? Si let passer?
Board passer, sir.
Si bar passer. No? Because pumasa siya with a less allowable error. Diba? He's only allowed to commit 20 errors out of 100. While si let passer naman is allowed to commit 25 error out of 100. No? So, yeah, you get the idea. That is the margin of error. That is E. That is the allowable error. Okay? So, the most common margin of error that is being used in statistics is 5% pababa. 5%, 2%, 1%. Usually those three are being used. It's either 5% or 2% or 1%. Pag 5%, in businesses, yun yung ginagamit na margin of error. Pero in medicine, mataas na yung 2%. Okay? Usually, 1% lang talaga yung margin of error nila na ginagamit. Kasi napaka-crucial kasi masyado ng medicine, to be using 5% allowable error. So as much as possible, 1% lang yung ginagamit nila na margin of error. So yung margin of error, it's either 0.005 or 0.01 or 0.02. Pero if hindi naman tawag dito, hindi naman medical field, we can use siguro up to 5% na allowable error. Okay lang naman siguro yon. Okay. We also have the Cred G and Morgan. 1970. Ito rin yung ginagamit nila na formula. Pero I don't think it practical na kung gagamit pa tayo ng ganito, no? So this is just n is equal to x squared times n times p multiplied by 1 minus p all over d squared times n minus 1 plus x squared times p multiplied by 1 minus p, where small n is a sample size, big N is a population, x squared is a table values of chi-square for 1 degree of freedom at the desired level of confidence. That's 3.841 or 95% confidence level. P is the population proportion assumed to be 50% since this will provide the maximum sample size. And D is degree of accuracy expressed as proportion. So we're not going to be using this. The Krejci and Morgan 1970. Don't worry, we're not going to be using this. Okay? And then, eto din, may table tayo for the Krejci and Morgan. Yan. So, if there are 10 lang, can you see it clearly, yung table? Nakikita nyo yung table kasi meron dyan N and S sa taas. Yung N meaning that is the population, and then yung S naman is the sample. Nakikita nyo pa ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Nakikita pa naman, sir. Nakikita pa.
According to Krejci and Morgan, if there are 10 lang na number of population, yung sample mo should be 10. Pag 15, it should be 14. Pag 20, it should be 19. No? Pag 95 na number of population, it should be 76. This is according to Krejci and Morgan, ha? Pag 100 daw, it should be 80. Pag 200, it should be 135. Pag 300, it should be 169. So that's according, and so on. Okay? So, actually, okay din naman gamitin yung gantong table kasi marami din yung samples nila dito. Kasi, the bigger the sample, the more accurate your data would be. The more reflective it would be sa population. Okay. Do you have any questions so far, by the way? About the basic concept of statistics. Population, sample, descriptive inferential, and then, yeah, sample size determination. Any questions so far?
None, sir.
How about the others?
None, sir.
None,
Sir,
sir.
pwede maka-sponsor ng PowerPoint, sir. Maka-arahin copy. Kay, nagkakawara-wara kasi ng internet.
Okay, sige. Okay, I think we can still continue. It's just, ano pa lang naman, 10:35. So hanggang 11 tayo. Okay lang ba if we continue?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
At
Sir.
least,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
proceed tayo to probability sampling. Sampling technique tayo. We have two types of sampling techniques. We have the probability and non-probability sampling techniques. Okay. So when we say probability sampling techniques, meaning every subject in the population has an equal chance of being selected as a sample. Pag non-probability naman, it's the other way around. So, hindi pantay-pantay yung chances of being selected to be a sample pag non-probability. So, ito, we have here some definition of a probability sampling. So, with probability sampling, every element of the population has a known probability of being included in the sample. A probability samples allows us to make probability statements about sample statistics. And we can estimate the extent to which a sample statistic is likely to differ from a population parameter. And the probability sampling is a requirement for inferential statistics. Okay? So, mostly, ginagamit natin yung pag nag-inferential statistics tayo, if we want to infer data to a population, we mostly use probability sampling technique, no? Kasi pag maggamit tayo ng non-probability sampling, no, most likely kasi hindi ganon ka-reflective yung sample natin to the population. That is why, as much as possible, probability sampling yung ginagamit natin. Unless we are using, tawag dito, qualitative. Oo. Okay. Like we have here example of probability. Wait, ito din naman yung definition ng non-probability sampling. So with non-probability sampling, we cannot specify the probability that each element will be included in the sample. Ayun nga kasi biased. Another term for non-probability sampling is biased sampling. So the main advantages of non-probability sampling are convenience and cost. So it is convenient and it costs less. However, with non-probability samples, we cannot make probability statements about our sample statistic. For example, we cannot compute a confidence interval for an estimation problem or a region acceptance for a hypothesis test. Okay? Kasi nga, the samples were not selected properly kasi wala siyang equal chance of being selected. May bias nga sa non-probability sampling. So we have methods of probability sampling. We have here 5 types of probability sampling. We have simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, cluster sampling, and multi-stage sampling. Okay. For simple random sampling, okay, let's try now to define the techniques. For simple random sampling, each element in the population has equal chance of being selected in the sample. So this is appropriate when the population is homogeneous. Elements in the sample can be selected through fishbowl or lottery technique, or by using the table of random numbers or any digital random number of random number generators. So parang this is most common yung simple random sampling, no? Kasi we can just parang ano lang draw lots. Okay, we can use this as a simple random sampling technique. So appropriate siya in a homogeneous population. Okay, that is simple random sampling. Okay, we have what we call also the systematic random sampling. When we say systematic random sampling, this technique of sampling involves the selection of the desired sample in a list by arranging them randomly. Otherwise, if arranged systematically or logically in either alphabetic arrangement or any acceptable arrangement, it becomes systematic sampling. Systematic random sampling is a method of selecting a sample by taking every kth unit from the ordered population. In the case of systematic sampling, only the first unit being selected at random and the rest in a systematic manner. So there's actually parang a process here na parang random sampling. Pero sa first element lang, sa first respondent lang, sa first sample. And then from that, the following members of the sample would be taken systematically. Again, based on the first sample that was taken randomly. Okay? So there's actually a formula for a systematic random sampling. Pero hindi naman siya. Actually, ano lang, in identifying lang the case element. Okay. So the following steps show a systematic random sample of 5 households to be selected from 20 housing units. So yung population natin dito is 20 and then yung sample natin is 5, number of samples. So we randomly assign the housing units from 1 to 20. This is the ordering. So the first we have to order yung population natin. So in any acceptable ordering. And then we determine the sampling interval computed as the K is equal to big N over small n, where big N is the population and small n is the sample size. usually you will be given man the sample size. No, and then of course the population would also reflect there. So select at random from 1 to k. So ayun nga, yung first element would be selected randomly, and from that you would use itong k is equal to n, big N over small n, to get the following respondents. Okay? So that is a systematic random sampling. May example ba tayo dito for systematic? Okay, like say for instance na lang for a systematic sampling, I am a boss at a company. Tapos meron akong 20 na employees and I want to select at random systematically. I want to select 5 employees to come with me in a business trip. And then I systematically order my employees from 1 to 20. According na lang to the number of years that they were under me. So I ordered them from 1 to 20. Seventeen adiha, 18, 19, 20. So in here, the numbers 1 to 20, this is the numbers representing my employees, no? From the least experienced to the most experienced employee. And then I'm going to use this formula for me to get the every nth term, case term pala. So there are 20 employees divided by the number of sample, which is n or 5, no? Kasi, di ba, according to what I've said earlier, I'm gonna choose 5 employees to come with me on a business trip. So 20 divided by 5. So that is 20 divided by 5 is 4. So that means I'm gonna select every fourth element. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is to select at random my first element. Nag-draw lots ako and then I'm gonna choose itong si employee number 15. So employee number 15 was randomly selected to be my first employee to come with me to my business trip. From this, itong fourth element, itong case element, gagamitin ko to identify the next 4 para makompleto ko yung 5 samples. So from 15, I'm gonna count every fourth element. So 1, 2, 3, 4, si 19, 1, kasi mag-end tayo sa 20, babalik tayo sa 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this is 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 15, si employee 15, 9, 3, 7, and 11. This would be my samples. Nag-gets nyo yung systematic sampling? Okay, the first thing you have to do again is to order them, to rank them according to any acceptable ordering, and then you identify the case term by dividing the population divided by the number of sample, and then you select the first element randomly, and then you now count every case element using of course yung na-solve ninyo na big N over small n. So that is systematic sampling. Okay. Advantages of systematic random sampling. It's easier to apply and less likely to make mistakes. It is possible to select a sample in the field without sampling frame, and it could give a more precise estimate than simple random sampling when there is order in the samples. Parang medyo fair siya kasi nga ordered yung parang may spread out natin yung samples according to their property, according to their attributes. So medyo fair yung systematic random sampling. And then we also have, of course, disadvantages of systematic random sampling. Now, its periodic regularities are found in the lists. A systematic sampling may consist only of similar types. And then if the population is not in random order, one cannot validly estimate the variance of the mean from a single systematic sample, and it could be less precise than simple random sampling. So when do we use the systematic random sampling? So if the ordering of the population is essentially random, that's one. And when stratification of the numerous data is used. So that is. So stratified random sampling, it refers to a sampling method that has the following properties. The population consists of n elements. The population is divided into age groups called strata. We are now on stratified random sampling, ha? Stratified. This is another sampling technique. And then each element of the population can be assigned to one and only one stratum. And the researcher obtains a probability sample from each stratum. We actually have two types of stratified random sampling. We have the proportion. We have proportion. We have proportion stratified random sampling, and then we also have the equal allocation. Equal allocation by double L. Yeah, equal allocation. So sa proportion, the number of sample is gonna depend on the number of the number of people from each strata. But for equal allocation, we would select equal numbers from different strata. Okay? So stratified random sampling, meaning yung sample natin dito ay yung population is being divided into different stratas or different groups na lang for you to understand. Okay? And then from that, you are going to identify how many samples would be taken from each group. Okay, so that is stratified random sampling. We actually have an example for that. Ayan. Meron tayo ditong again proportional allocation and equal allocation. So for proportional allocation, this procedure chooses sample size proportional to the sizes of the different subgroups of strata. And then equal allocation, in this procedure, the sample size of each group or stratum is determined by dividing n by the number of strata or subgroups, and each group or stratum will have equal size. Ayun lang. Equal allocation. And which do you think, sige na, if you now understand yung stratified and random sampling, which do you think is more reliable? Si proportional allocation ba or si equal allocation? Which is more reliable? Equal allocation?
Equal allocation.
According to Mr. Arpon, why do you think so?
Kasi each group stratum will have equal size para
Has
mas
equal size?
Apa.
Siguro. Okay, sige. Explain ko lang, ha. Yung number of members natin from each group, usually hindi yan sila pare-parehas. For instance, yung population mo is divided into 3 stratas. Sabihin na lang natin 3 groups. Strata 1 is high income earners, high income earner. And then sa second strata is average income earner, and sa third strata is low income earner. So sabihin na lang natin sa low income earner, meron tayong 1,000 200. Tapos, sa average income earner, meron tayong 500. And then sa high income earner, meron tayong 300. Now, when we say equal allocation, lahat ng strata natin is kukunan with the exact number of sample. Like say for instance, yung number of samples lang natin na required is 300. So meaning, sa equal allocation, kukuha tayo ng 100 dito, kukuha tayo ng 100 din sa average, kukuha din tayo ng 100 from high income earner. Now, do you think okay yun, yung equal allocation? Is that fair?
No,
Yes,
pala,
sir.
Okay. Yes.
So according
Yes.
to Arvin, it's yes. According to Arpon, no pala. Sige, why did you say so, Mr. Lisigas? Bakit sabi mo fair yung equal allocation?
Kay it concept, for example, it high income earner, may iba tera kuan ha, low income earner na average. So kung kumuha kita ng 100 from each subgroup, may bagat may kuan, may tawag ito.
May
diri na lang ako, sir. Waray na lang.
ano ba yan? Kamukha ko i-express ito yung idea. No? Okay, each idea is subjective and it's welcome here, no, as long as that is related aton gini study atong ginasastudihan. So equal, welcome yung mga ideas ninyo. So according to Mr. Arpon, diri na lang ko, no, why did you say so?
Kasi sir, parang mas maganda na lang yung proportion. Ganun.
Proportion. Kasi bakit?
Realistic.
Kasi pag equal allocation, ibig sabihin, mas madami yung magre-represent mas madami dapat yung magre-represent sa low income earner, 'di ba? Kasi nga mas madami sila. 'Di ba?
Yes, sir.
Oo, ganun 'yon. Sabihin na lang natin ano ba yung mas maganda? Sabihin na lang natin may allowances kayo from each section. Ilan ba kayo sa section ninyo? Sabihin na lang natin 50 kayo. And then sa ibang section may 25 lang sila. What if bigyan kayo ng allowance as a section, ha? Bigyan kayo ng, sabihin na lang natin 50,000 na allowance per section. Tapos sila may 25 members lang. Kayo 50 members kayong lahat sa isang section, 'di ba? Mas lugi kayo doon. Kasi nga mas marami kayo na maghahati-hati compared to the other section na 25 lang sila and they'll be given 50,000. Tapos kayo 50 kayo and you'll also be given 50,000. 'Di ba? That is unfair to you. Kasi nga mas madami kayo na maghahati-hati. Ganon din dito. No, sa stratified random sampling, mas madami yung member sa strata, mas madami dapat yung mag-represent sa kanila. No? So, parang mas reliable dito yung proportional allocation kesa equal allocation. Okay? Gets na ba? There's actually a formula for this, no, for stratified random sampling. Yan. So example, a survey was conducted to find out if families living in a certain community are in favor of charter change. So to ensure that all income groups are represented, respondents will be divided into high income or class A, middle or class B, and low income or class C groups. So below is the distribution of income. So ayun, class A, meron tayong 1,000, class B, may 2,500, and class C is 1,500. A total of 5,000 na population lahat. Again, divided yan sa tatlong stratas, ha. So, kung gagamit tayo ng equal allocation, wait lang, wala tayong may number of ano ba tayo? Ay, wala na. Sige, for instance na lang, so we don't have the time to calculate samples allowed. For instance, we just want to take 500 na lang na samples out of 5,000. Okay. So, kung sabihin na lang natin palang 1,000. Ay, odd number pa rin yun, no? Sabihin na lang natin na 600. 600 na respondents. Now, 600 na sample. So, required number of sample natin is 300. Small n. Big N naman natin is 5,000. Kung gagamit tayo ng equal allocation, we would take 600 na lang pala, hindi 300. 600 na number of sample. So, kung equal allocation, kung EA or equal allocation, meron tayong tig 200 dito. Diba? 200 samples would be taken from each strata. Okay? Because if 600 lang yung samples natin divided by class A, B, and C, so tig 200 per strata. Now, using the equal allocation, I mean the proportional allocation, what we do is we first get the percentage. Itong si 1,000, ilang percent ba siya ng 5,000 and so on. So what percent of 5,000 is 1,000?
20%.
So 20%. How did you get that? 20%.
Divide dan po 5,000 na 1,000.
So you just divide 1,000 by 5,000, di ba? So 1,000 is just 20%. Diba?
Yes, sir.
So yung 1,000 natin is 20%. Yung 2,500, what is that? That is 50.
50%.
Okay. Yung 1,500 of, what is that in percentage compared to 5,000? 1,500 is what percent of 5,000? That is 30. Diba? Tama ba? Hello? Ada pa ka mo?
Yes, sir. Adi pa.
Nandyan pa ba kayo?
Yes, sir.
So, ayan. Yung 1,500 natin, yung 1,500 is 30%. So, i-divide nyo lang yung 1,500 divided by 5,000. So, this is actually a total of 100% dapat, di ba? Total of 100%. Now, from these percentages, you can get now the number of participants by multiplying it to the required number of sample. So, that's the equal allocation. So, 20% times 600 is 120. So, for class A, meron dapat tayong 120 na sample. From class B, meron tayong 600 divided by, so that's 300. And then for class C, meron tayong 180. Yan. So this is a total of 600, which is equal to the required number of sample. Ayun. So yung class A, meron tayong 1,000 members doon, and then yung number of samples natin na kukunin is 120 lang. So for Class B, meron tayong 2,500 na members doon. Yung number of samples natin would be 300. And then sa Class C naman, 1,500 yung members, we would get 180 samples from that. No, nakikita nyo dito, mas malaki yung member ng strata, mas marami yung samples na kinukuha. Diba? That is to be fair nga. No, para proportionally equal yung numbers of samples taken from strata, from each strata. Okay? Nagigets ba yung stratified random sampling? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Okay. So, yan. So, I think we're already 2 minutes past our time, no? So, let's just end it here. Let's continue this next meeting. Okay. So, can I request someone from you to list down the participant, the student, no, who's present here today? Kasi, kung mag-record pa ako ng attendance, it would take time. So, kindly, ano na lang ha, hindi na ako mag-a-assign. Kayo na bahala. Basta, there should be 41 of you na andoon sa attendance. Kasi 42 lang naman, 41 lang naman kayo na andito. Okay? I'll just request everyone to please open their cameras, and then I'll take a screenshot, and then I'll dismiss you. So, how was today's discussion? Ano, kamusta?
Okay, sir.
Okay lang naman yung di ba? Yung
Okay na, sir.
statistics, yung data analysis. So ayun, I'll just tingnan natin if kaya natin gumawa ng quantitative research na out of this at the end of the course. Sige, wait lang ha. I'll just take a screenshot muna. Okay, sige. Thank you again for attending today's GMAT. See you again next week. You are dismissed. Ciao.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, sir.
Thank you, sir. Grazie mille.
Bye, sir.